Welcome. It's nice to have you here. I hope you enjoy it. I think you will.
You're listening to the JaM Session Podcast.
I was told that I could listen to the radio at a reasonable volume.
With Cowboys insider...
What's your name?
Jean-Jacques Taylor.
That's my name.
Radio personality and craft beer expert, Matt McLaren.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot. Comes from upbringing.
And now, the JaM Session Podcast. It is indeed JaM Session. Subscribe, rate, and review, and hang out with us for a while. Right here on JaM Session. The moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, the radio, TV, and now podcast star, the sexy Jean-Jacques Taylor.
What up, dog?
It's me, the non-sexy one, Matt McLaren. And this indeed is JaM Session, the podcast. Version 17, asking simply that you prepare to be dazzled,
if not entertained.
And of course, as we always do, need to take a moment to thank some of our sponsors. Without them, we couldn't do this. So please support our sponsors as they support us. We've been telling you about Blue Star Motor Group, a local husband and wife team that has a combined 50 years of experience in the car business. They specialize in superior quality, Carfax certified pre-owned vehicles of all makes and models with super simple, aggressive pricing. If you need to sell your car, give Deb a call with Blue Star Motor Group. If you want to know the value of your car, retail versus the wholesale, give Deb a call. You can check them out on Instagram. You can see all their customer reviews and all sorts of information. But I would encourage you to check out their website as well at bluestarmotorgroup.com to see all their inventory and pricing, and they'll get you taken care of. Big fans of JaM Session at bluestarmotorgroup.com. Our buddies at False Idol Brewing Company. They, of course, are the ones, Jacques and I were telling you guys about this a couple of weeks back, that brewed the JaM Session IPA. And, of course, you can find a variety of beers at their tap room in North Richland Hills, or look for them at your favorite growler bar. You can sometimes find them on tap at places like Craft and Growler or Taps and Caps in Fort Worth or Thirsty Growler up in the Colony. You can see their lineup on their website at falseidolbrew.com. But I would encourage you, the best way to get information about False Idol is to find them on Instagram at False Idol Brewing and follow them on Instagram. And they always post what they have coming up throughout the course of the week. And they also offer a lot of good Monday specials. So check out our friends there at False Idol Brewing. Also, welcome to Freeway Tire Shop. Easy to get to in Dallas, right there off of 35. JR at Freeway Tire Shop. His crew will take care of you and your service needs. We were just talking about this the other day. Whatever it is that you have a need for, whether it's an oil change or a state inspection, an alignment, tires, Freeway Tire Shop does it all. Competitive pricing, elite customer service. They'll get you taken care of, especially that JaM Session audience. All you guys that are listening out there, you can check out what they have at freewaytireshop.com. Schedule an appointment, request a quote, and go support them at freewaytireshop.com. as we appreciate them. But Jacques, let's get into this tonight because the Dallas Cowboys are now 2-7. They have the official fourth worst record in the NFL, which is great news. 9 games into this thing, and you know, they were a 15-point home underdog against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and until right at the end of the game, they had a chance to win this thing and led for the majority of the game finally.
Well, let's not leave me out. I mean, Vegas had him as a 15-point dog. I thought and I predicted 31-0 Pittsburgh. So clearly that did not go down. But I got to tell you, bro, I thought they played one of their better games of the season. But the reality is, and this is what we deal with here on JaM Session. The reality of it is, at the end, when it mattered, when they had a chance to win, they did all the things that bad teams do.
Yes, they do. I thought the same thing. It's that
simple. They did all of the things that bad teams do. And this week, they did them on offense. Actually, they did some on defense, too, in the fourth quarter. And the thing I say about the Cowboys is they can always say it's a team lost this year. Very rarely have you been able to say, oh, my God, if this side of the ball had matched the other side, we'd have won. No, they both screw up equally well. And it was a good game. They played hard. They did considering they were starting QB4, it was great. But at the end, Matt, it's the same old song, man. They made Ooh, I almost cussed.
It's okay if you do.
I almost said a poop load of mistakes in the fourth quarter, and they just couldn't overcome them, bro.
Yeah, they did, and I think that was, I mean, it started off, honestly, for me, watching this game early on, and I was like, man, this is a weird game because, I don't know how good Dallas is playing versus Pittsburgh just looks kind of disinterested and lethargic, and I wonder if Pittsburgh saw this on film and just kind of came in here and was like, man, we'll smoke these guys. And then they got out here, and Dallas is like, hold on a second now. I mean, we're going to play. And the first half to me was just kind of like a stagnant first half with some weird things that happened. And you look up at it, and then somehow at the half, I'm like, okay, 13-9. All right, this is weird. But it also felt like at that point where Dallas had a couple of opportunities, and other than the one touchdown, it was all field goals for them tonight. And they had opportunities to do some things, but they wound up kicking field goals that against a team like Pittsburgh, if you're going to let them hang around, eventually they're going to find a way to come back and get you. And that's exactly what we saw happen.
Ultimately, that's why I never felt good about it. You're not going to beat good teams in the NFL most nights. I say it like this, 99 out of 100 times, you're not going to beat good teams in the NFL kicking field goals. And they wasted opportunities. Throughout the game, and then they didn't take, when you're as bad as Dallas has been this year, and they did it last week. And so I was a little surprised they didn't do it this week in every phase, which is you just let it all hang out, man.
Yeah.
And what I'm talking about is, they had different opportunities to take bigger leads and do this or that. But now this is just me. I just thought third quarter, 4th and inches.
Yes. Yeah.
Pittsburgh 22. A field goal, that's cool. But a field goal don't do nothing. It doesn't tell Pittsburgh, oh, snap, we got a problem.
Right.
It just, it gives you a cute little lead, but it doesn't do anything to put any pressure on Pittsburgh. I would have gone for it there. You're 2-6 or whatever they are. They're not going anywhere this season. Go for it. Go try to knock off.
Oh, no doubt.
The NFL's only undefeated team, and instead he took the safe route with the field goal, man. And I was just like, I just don't like it, man. I don't think that gives you a big enough lead to hold Pittsburgh off, given how we expect the game to go. And 4th and inches, not even 4th and a foot. Not even 4th and a yard.
It was like 4th and 1 inch.
Yeah, and so I would have taken my $90 million running back, run behind my Hall of Fame guard, and see if I can make it happen.
Yeah, and the call earlier in the game, they had talked about this on the broadcast a little bit, where it was 4th and 5, I think, and they decided to punt early on. I was like, I'm almost was at a point, it's like, I know you don't want to get sloppy where the team's looking over at you going, what in the world are we doing? But at some point, like you mentioned, you're 2-6. You've got an undefeated team that nobody thinks you have a chance against. And that's what I think is interesting. Some of the play calls that we see, for instance, what was it? The play where Cedric Wilson fields the ball and then throws it across the field to Goodwin.
Right.
So you're willing to do things like that. But whoa, 4th and inches, maybe we should get the field goal here.
Yeah, see, that's really what I'm talking about. Like at one level, they played to win it. Like last week, they played, we're going to do whatever we can to win it. May not win it, but we leave nothing in the chamber. We've shot every bullet. And so it's not, I don't think it's the end of the world. I just would have liked to seen a little different mindset from the head coach. Because he went that far in one respect. He just didn't go all the way, man.
Yeah, and it just became, I think most of us watching this game, at least this is how I felt. Obviously there's a couple of things which is weird, where I kept saying this, and we'll have secret audio of a Cowboys Homer coming up towards the end of the show here, whenever you're listening to it right now, where I think I mentioned a few times, like, oh my God, they're going to F up and try and win this game. I was like, I like the effort. It's great, but come on. Let's get to that 2-7.
I got to tell you, I ain't never watched a game like that. That just seems bizarre to me.
It is bizarre.
I just can't get down with that.
It's a tough mindset.
You know why I can't get down with it? Because there ain't no guarantee that whatever guy you pick is going to be this Hall of Fame guy.
Oh, yeah, for sure, no doubt. But I'm going to tell you right now, like everybody watching this thing, for the most part, you're sitting there like you're like me, like, hey, have a competitive game, but lose in the end. I mean, what's the difference between? I don't care about this team finishing 6-10. I'd rather be 2-14 and get a better draft pick. And I have no idea what the difference is between the picks.
I can't ride with that, man, because I think there's how do I want to say this? Like, I understand why fans like you do that, because the majority of my friends are Cowboys fans, and they're talking the same thing you're talking. But I'm telling you, yeah, okay, you want the player, you want the draft pick, the top 5 pick or whatever. You don't want your young guys losing 14 games and dealing with all the. You don't want them getting so accustomed to losing, like, oh, it's okay, it's no big deal. The fans are happy. Hell, we getting the top draft pick. I think it's just a whole lot of. There ain't never no good to losing. I don't give a damn about a draft pick. There ain't never no good to sit there and lose 12, 13, 14 games for your franchise, because that losing, they can become numb to it because they just human. And you want them like Greg Ellis, sitting in a locker, pissed off in the uniform, can't move for 45 minutes to an hour, like Sean Lee after a loss. You don't want them going, well, hey, where we meeting for drinks, fellas? Let's go. My girl waiting. She wants to know.
No, but like my job isn't to be a player.
No.
You know, and I've said this before, like I would never want them to purposely try to lose. That's why I like the effort today. Like I want to see these guys fight. I don't ever want to see the team just roll over and try to lose on purpose. And I thought today you saw a real emotional effort, a team that was really fighting, that recognized the importance of trying to get a win. But I also think the other perspective of that from a fan perspective is we're not the players. There's really nothing exciting to the fan base to sit there and finish, like I said, 5-11 or 6-10. If you're going to do that, I think you'd rather see some competitive losses where all of a sudden you do wind up 3-13 or 4-12 or whatever it is. But I would never ask the players to try and lose. If you're going to do that, why even play? That would be completely pointless to me. Or to expect them to go out and try to.
It's a very weird dichotomy.
It is a dichotomy, and that's what I am saying. And look, there are times, and you'll hear it in Homer audio, where the game is close and you're trying to win. But, you know, and I think part of what it is you just don't trust this team. I did not trust this team at all. I almost felt like, okay, is this real? Or is this some smoke? Or are the Steelers doing something and their full effort's not here? Because what I'm seeing from the Cowboys is so completely unexpected. And I don't know where it comes from.
Oh, I think it's just I think you're right on some levels. I think it's a classic case of well, at least I always say, and again, I ain't being, real original with this. If both teams play their A game, then Pittsburgh probably wins by the 15 points or whatever it was.
Right.
Vegas predicted them to win by. But they didn't both play their A game. Dallas played like their B-plus game, and Pittsburgh probably played their C game. And thus, you had what you had. And then when Dallas started off so fast, what happened? They got emotionally invested. They had more confidence. And so they probably played better than we've seen them play most of the year. So, when you put all that together, it was a good performance. But in the end, I got to tell y'all the truth. It never felt to me like they were going to win, because they never made that play that really put, like, even 13-0 didn't bother me. You know why? Because in the world of the NFL, like any other sport, any other football game, you dominated the game. You have kicked their ass. It's 13-0. They make one play and it's 13-7. You're like, there's a ball game again. Yeah. You dominate the whole thing. They make one touchdown and it's like, oh.
Damn, dude, really? Yeah, it did feel that way. And I almost just kept feeling like the whole game, even when they were up big at 19-9, and I kept thinking, okay, going into the fourth quarter, surely even then, to your point, at 19-9, you're looking at it, go, well, a touchdown makes it 19-16, and they're right back in it. And this is the Steelers we're talking about here.
That's why I would have gone for the touchdown. Because what was it? It was 16-9.
Yeah, 23-9. Yeah.
That puts some pressure on your butt.
Yeah, because then if they score a touchdown, you're like, damn, I still got to get another touchdown.
And 19-9 means you don't have to worry at all about them running.
Yeah.
You can then unleash your pass rush. And the pass rush at times was good today. It just changes the whole mindset. Maybe there's just a smidgen of panic with Pittsburgh, and your guys are even more geeked, and maybe somebody makes a play for you. But mentally, 19-9, I don't think Pittsburgh panicked. Pittsburgh's like, okay, hell, we're still in it. We just need 2 touchdowns and we win. And that's what they got.
Yeah, and it was just such an odd all the way around feel because we saw the Cowboys doing things. I mean, Pittsburgh came in averaging 118 yards rushing on the ground. Now, they only ran for 48 last week against Baltimore, but that's Baltimore. And I think everybody was expecting, much like all the other teams have done, they're going to come in here and run it crazy all over Dallas and open up some deep passes. And that never happened. Pittsburgh had a season low in rush yards today, 46 yards. And it never really felt like they got anything going until the fourth quarter when they started to hit some things and had, obviously, the 42-yard play right at the end that set up the late touchdown. And you started to see some things like that where Dallas, you're like, damn, dude, you played about 50 minutes of a 60-minute game. In those last 10 minutes, you just started to do what bad teams do, and you couldn't get out of your own way.
It's no different, man, than we see it in the NBA for a long time. When you're a bad NBA team, you lead until 4 minutes left. Then the other team turns turns it up, and they win by 6. And you're sitting there going, damn, I thought we had this one.
It did feel like that.
And, I think they were also hurt by injuries, man. Savion Smith, tell me you recognize his name and his number. Okay, playing because Trayvon Diggs is out with a foot injury. So what happens? He gives up a 42-yard catch and run because he can't make a very simple tackle on an out route. And then he gives up the touchdown because he comes up to make a tackle and dude just jumps over him, hurdles him into the end zone. And so you're like, this is what happens because Savion Smith, let me tell y'all something. He's probably about the 9th cornerback on the depth chart when training camp started.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you get injuries, dog. Too many injuries at one spot leaves you compromised, leaves your Cowboys, I guess one thing we ought to take a look at, Matt, is, and we've done this, I like this conversation actually, because it happened today, is where they rank now in terms of draft, in terms of bad teams in the league.
Right.
Because like the Giants won today, it's like I told y'all, the Giants are playing people tough, and they're going to win 2 or 3 more games. So I think they'll finish below the Giants. I keep thinking, man, to me, this is just your boy now. They're probably 3rd or 4th because I don't know that they can be worse than Jacksonville or the Jets.
Yeah, I don't think they're that.
The Chargers will give them a run for the money.
Yeah, and the thing of it is with the Chargers is the Chargers fight. The Chargers are in those things. That I don't know that the Chargers are just going to continually lose. We'll see. Washington lost to the Giants today, which is why they both. Well, Washington's 2-6 and the Giants are 2-7, but. Those are the teams. The only reason the Giants are ahead of the Cowboys technically is because the Cowboys beat them. But yeah, it's the Giants, Jags, and Jets right now are the only teams ahead of Dallas for the race for that worst, I guess, label of worst team in the NFL this year.
Unbelievable, bro, from where we thought when training camp started.
It really is.
Unbelievable.
It is.
The Dallas Cowboys, one of the worst teams in the National Football League.
2-7, heading into the bye as we continue with you here on Jam Session. Wanted to remind you, of course, I had some just this weekend, actually. Those wings at Kroger, I keep telling you guys about these. And several of you, it's like a few people each week will tweet at us or something or say, man, you guys weren't kidding about those wings. Yes, they're very good. You can find the 2 flavors of wings available at Kroger stores across North Texas. They're very good. You got the mango habanero flavor. That's the one that I prefer, but the buffalo blue cheese is also good as well. You get them at the meat counter, wherever you get your meats, your steaks and whatnot. They'll have those wings in the window. They're not breaded, so all you get is meat and flavor. Throw them in the air fryer. That's what Jacques likes to do. Throw them on the grill.
Prefer to do.
That's what I like to do. But just find them and enjoy them at North Texas Kroger locations. Those wings, mango habanero or buffalo blue cheese. I will say as we continue our conversation, and of course we are recording this immediately after the Cowboys loss to Pittsburgh and Dallas to finish up at 2-7 heading into the bye. Garrett Gilbert. A lot of people wondered about Garrett Gilbert making his first ever career NFL start. And I will say, I don't know what they saw in Ben DiNucci that they thought he was better than Garrett Gilbert, because while I don't think Garrett Gilbert's the be-all, end-all or anything, I thought Garrett Gilbert had a pretty solid performance tonight.
Garrett Gilbert, to me, for the most part. Well, let me change that. I'm gonna change my mind just that quickly. I thought Garrett Gilbert did a fine job. Period. I thought for the most part, he did what a backup quarterback is supposed to do. Like, I don't think anybody looks at this and says he lost the game.
Right.
So that means he did a good job. I will say, however, and this is just what it is, man. With the game on the line, as you would expect, there were two or three throws, and you go, this is why Pittsburgh's got a Hall of Fame quarterback and they're going to win, and why Dallas has got QB4 out there and they're going to lose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the one, obviously a couple that jump out at you, but that third down throw to Amari Cooper where Amari had the first down if he could have hit him and he sailed it. You know, there's a couple of throws like that. Held on.
To me, was a key one.
Yeah, and look, what do you expect from a guy who was on the street a month ago, right? And they bring him in. It gets to a situation where he's got to get a shot. And I thought all in all, especially against a defense like the Steelers, he performed well with those things considered.
I also thought the series before there, the interception in the end zone, to Minka Fitzpatrick, it just, man, it's always dicey when you throw in the middle of the field with a young guy or an inexperienced guy. And, I thought up until then he had played virtually mistake-free. And at that point, it's like, damn, that's a bad time for your first mistake. Yeah. But I think the bigger picture, and I wrote this in my grades, which you can find in the Dallas Morning News Monday, is exactly what you just said, man. And I'm curious, like, this is not taking shots. This is a real curiosity. Like, you'd love to, and maybe I'll just ask tomorrow and just see what the answer is. What did you see in DiNucci in practice that made you pick him over Gilbert?
I'd love to know.
Because Gilbert was he didn't seem jittery, skittish at all. And I think we talked about this last week. The more the week went on, the more I thought Gilbert would start. And I think I came up with the final conclusion. I didn't have any inside info on this, but just like my final conclusion was just when they needed a backup for Dak. I mean, when they needed another quarterback when Dak went down, guys were available, and the guy that they went and picked was Gilbert. They picked him over Cooper Rush. So when you needed a guy, you picked Gilbert over Rush. So now that you need a guy to start, why wouldn't you pick Gilbert over Rush? That just seemed to make sense to me. Yeah, the more the week went on.
All in all, he was sacked a couple of times, obviously, at the end of the game. But I thought he made some plays. He showed a little bit of, I don't even know how you want to describe it, moxie, or like, I guess the best way to put it, whatever word describes what you were talking about, the moment didn't seem too big for him. He didn't seem like a deer in headlights like it felt like DiNucci was last week. I mean, Gilbert comes out and early in the game gets a couple of first downs by recognizing the opportunity to use his feet and pick up some big first downs on that initial drive. And he seemed to me like the type of guy that would be an NFL backup quarterback that comes in and plays a couple of games a year and kind of gives you what he's got, and that's it.
Dude. You know what? I had the exact same thought during the game. The thought I had was, Andy Dalton and your $9 million or $4 million or whatever you're making, we appreciate you this year. You can go. We can pay Garrett Gilbert, I'm saying the Cowboys' perspective, we can pay Gilbert $1 million. You go be the backup for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, because again, with backup quarterbacks, your season goes out the door when your top 10 quarterback in the NFL is out for the year. Backup quarterbacks are backups because they're not supposed to play 12 or 11 games or whatever it is.
Right, they're supposed to play. I think the formula, when I've talked to people during the 25 years I've covered the National Football League, Matt, the thought that comes to mind is, can your backup handle it for a month and get you to 2-2? Yeah. Because that keeps you, normally 2-2 will keep you in whatever race you're in. If it's a wild card, if it's division, 2-2 is okay. 1-3 can be a bit of a disaster. 3-1 would be fantastic, obviously. But if you can just go 2-2 as the backup, we good, man. We good. And don't lose the game. Let other people lose the game.
Yeah, and it was just unfortunate again. Yeah, he missed some throws. He didn't miss nearly as many as Ben DiNucci did last week. But, to your point, as you kind of mentioned this, we saw the difference between a guy like a Garrett Gilbert, who spent a portion of last year in the XFL, and a guy like Ben Roethlisberger, who's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer with 2 rings. And there's a reason why, that demeanor, that calmness. I mean, even when he was hurt, I sit there and I was talking out loud watching the game. I was like, he's not coming out. And I don't think he would have left if he had thought they were going to get the ball back. I don't think he would have gone into the locker room. I don't, because there's only like a minute left or whatever in the half. So I think he thought, okay, they'll get the ball and then the half's over. So I'm going to go ahead and get a few extra minutes in the room. And that's why Mason Rudolph was in for that final series, because they weren't expecting to get the ball right back because of the CeeDee Lamb turnover.
No, I believe that. I mean, Garrett Gilbert ends up 21 of 38, 243 yards, a touchdown, and interception. I think you'll take that. Here's what I liked about him. With Garrett Gilbert in the game, let me put it like this. And we talked about this last week, Matt. The Cowboys, I got to go to my notes right quick. Coming into this game, the Cowboys had 4 plays of 20 yards or more in 229 snaps.
Yeah.
Since Dak went out. That's 1 every 57 snaps. Guess how many they had today, Matt?
They have 4 today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had 4. That's 3 passes and a run. And, actually, let me see.
What did they have, 5? Because I didn't.
I take this back.
Pollard had 2 20-yard runs.
Well, see, at one point they said there was a 19, but now it's a 20. No, they ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plays, bro.
I missed one somewhere. That happens.
There's Gilbert to Cooper,
right.
Gilbert to Lamb at the end, Tony Pollard for 20. The touchdown to Lamb went for 20. Pollard for 20.
Yeah, that's right.
And then, see, I missed the one to Gallup that went for 20 because that was late in the first half, and I was cooking some salmon. I left early.
Yeah, look at you being healthy and fancy with your salmon.
But think about that, man. They had 4 in 229 plays in the previous 3 games. And then with Garrett Gilbert making his first NFL start, they end up with 6 in how many plays? 6 in 71 plays. That's pretty damn good, bro.
It is pretty damn good. It's unfortunate that they weren't able to capitalize, on some of the drives that they did have those big plays.
That's the problem.
Right, and they just cannot get out of their own way. And we're going to get more into the fourth quarter failures, but you can look at even at the end of the first half when they do that punt play, and Wilson fielded that at the Dallas 6. And look, the last couple of weeks, they have really wanted Cedric Wilson to throw a pass.
Damn it, they're committed to him throwing balls.
And Cedric Wilson, I thought the pass was fine. Goodwin just bobbled it. If he had caught it clean, he might score there. Now, he bobbled it, which allowed the defense that extra split second to kind of adjust.
Recognize it and recover.
Yeah, and he still goes for 73 yards, and you're like, oh, holy hell, right there at the 21 or inside the 20 or whatever it was. Wait, okay. A block in the back that didn't even need to happen. So then instead of getting it inside the red zone, it's where 10 yards from the spot of the penalty, so they get the ball at the 31. It's still a cool play, but it's the little things like that for a team that struggles to move the ball that it is. When you're doing it to yourself after a great play like that, that's what leads to, instead of a touchdown, 3 points.
Well, yeah, because you're like, Darian Thompson, what are you doing?
Yeah, man, like you didn't need to do that.
You don't even need to. If he gets tackled, man, at the 15-yard line, then he gets tackled. Because the difference between starting possession at the 15 and starting at the 28, 29, wherever it is, it's a difference because, you got the field goal in hand. And so you may be a little more aggressive because they started that series off with 2 runs, which I didn't like. I thought today was really a day where you need to throw the ball on first down and run it on second down because they were so geared up to stop the run. But, we're talking about all these plays and all these missed opportunities. And that's why they are one of the worst teams in National Football League.
Yeah, and how freaking weird is it when you see – this only would happen to the Cowboys, right? At the end of the half, Pittsburgh, I mean, that dude like flat out wide missed that 54-yard field goal. Oh, hold on a second. We meant to call a false start. That play shouldn't have happened. But hey, whatever. You got a free kick. Anyway, it was a false start. We'll push you back 5 yards. Now you can readjust and nail a 59-yard field goal right before the half. I was like, only to the Cowboys would that happen, where the penalty happens so he gets another shot and he nails it.
It's been that kind of year, man. 2020, baby. It's been a trip.
It is. Just unbelievable luck for the Dallas Cowboys. A reminder to find us on our YouTube channel. Of course, we're doing a YouTube Live every week, and we're going to Just a Sip that we do. I know a lot of you are familiar with Just a Sip, brought to you by our friends at Beer Geek Shop in downtown Rockwall. We're going to start filming that and have that up for you on YouTube as well. So every week you can see the 3 beers that we're trying as we're out and about. And of course, Beer Geek Shop in downtown Rockwall, big fans of the show. We're big fans of them. In my estimation, the greatest beer store in the area, where everything is available in singles. They have over 400 beers from across the world, and you can find them in Rockwall, downtown on the square. Now, they're like right off the square next to Zanata, if you know where that is, on San Jacinto Plaza. It's a local family-owned business. Jason and Deidre, a husband and wife team that own that. So if you're out in that area or you're just looking for really good beers, the beers that you hear us talk about on the show, pretty much all of them are available at Beer Geek Shop in downtown Rockwall. So get out there and support those guys, because they have been really big supporters of us. And of course, we much appreciate everything they do.
Can I tell you something, Matt?
Yes.
I am sampling Galactic Cowboy Nitro and Imperial Stout from Beer Geeks.
Look at you.
Not as we speak, but just before we stop speaking.
I know you sent me a picture.
And it's from Left Hand Brewing in Colorado.
Yeah, that's a really cool place.
Because you guys know I'm a coffee stout guy, and Deidre just hooks me up with coffee stouts from all over the country, so I get a healthy sampling of what it's like all over the country.
Yeah, dude. Left Hand Milk Stout used to be like the goat of milk stouts when it came out a few years ago. I remember one time I drank an entire pitcher of Left Hand Milk Stout.
Wow.
I don't know how I did it, but, what are you going to do? I used to be, maybe I had a problem. Who knows? But as we continue with you here on this version of the podcast, we were talking about some of the things that had happened around the NFL in regards to the Cowboys, why they now technically are the 4th team. Like if the whole, I always hate that shit where it's, if the season ended today, well, it doesn't, but if it did, they would be the 4th overall pick because of the tiebreaker with the Giants. But when you look at this, some of the action today that we saw in the NFL, there were a lot of good games that went down. The Miami-Arizona game. How about the Miami Dolphins, man? Tua Tagovailoa comes in a couple of weeks ago, takes over for Ryan Fitzpatrick. He was 248 yards with a couple of touchdowns today and was able to lead them to a game-winning field goal with like 3 minutes and some change left. They hit a 50-yard field goal, and Miami wins. The Dolphins are 5-3 halfway through the season.
How about that? I don't think most folks saw that coming. They're going to get a top 10 draft pick from Houston. If they do what they need to do with these draft picks, whatever that is, they got a shot, man. They got a shot to be. I think what's going to happen is the AFC East is about to become like it was when I was a kid. I mean, not when I was a kid, in the 80s.
Yeah, where it's the Bills and the Dolphins.
Where it's the Bills and the Dolphins. Yeah. And I say that because you guys know I grew up in Buffalo, so I was a huge Bills fan. And at one time when I was growing up, I think the Dolphins beat them like, dude, it was 17, 18, 19, 20 times in a row.
Jesus, really?
No, that's for real, bro.
That's insane.
I got to look it up. Like
that's like 9 straight years.
Yeah, that's what happened. And they blew them out. They won games at the buzzer. Whatever kind of way they could win, they won. But nah, man, that's real talk. At one point, they had some ridiculous winning streak that I suffered through as a kid until Joe Cribbs showed up in the early 80s, and they changed that thing with Chuck Knox.
Huh. Well, there you have it. Yeah, so the Dolphins, man, I wonder with Miami, like you talk about, depends on where Houston's going to wind up. But if they end up being in the right slot, I wonder if Miami would look at it and say, why don't we go get one of those Alabama receivers like Waddle or Devontae Smith, who Tua is already extraordinarily familiar with and had chemistry with a year ago, and you bring him in and add another young weapon with the field stretching receiver.
Okay, see, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about will they surround him with – see, this is interesting to me. Will they surround him with the kind of weapons that can help him elevate and become a star?
Right.
Or because Brian Flores is a Belichick disciple and a defensive-minded guy, will they go after defensive players? My thought is you take care of your quarterback because the more weapons he has, the more room for error you have on defense.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously Gaskin got hurt and he didn't play today, but I think they're still kind of looking for that dynamic type runner. Who knows? Who knows what Miami will do, but they're going to wind up with 2 first-round picks, and we'll see. Arizona falls to 5-3 with that loss too, by the way.
I found the answer, man. I went and looked it up because I was curious. The Dolphins won all 20 meetings in the 70s over Buffalo.
They went 10 straight years.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. That's what I'm telling you. I remembered it. They won 20 straight games.
That is incredible.
Against the Bills.
That is incredible, man. Wow.
And some of those years the Bills were good. They went to the playoffs. And in some years they sucked. But, hey, 20 straight times is hard to do in professional football no matter who you're playing.
Yeah, it is hard to do. So elsewhere over in the AFC, the Chargers lose again. They're 2-6. The Raiders are now 5-3 with the win over the Chargers, and that's one of those, of course, where the Chargers just run out of time. They were trying to keep up with Vegas pretty much throughout the duration of the game, and I still think they've got what they need. It was unfortunate because they thought they had won, and they originally ruled a touchdown pass for a short little 4-yard touchdown pass, but they overruled the completion, and they ended up losing the game because of that.
Man, that's a tough way to go down.
They've had some heartbreakers, man, for the Chargers. And, they had already lost Austin Eckler, and then Justin Jackson, who was his backup, got hurt and early in this game, and I think might have played just a couple of early snaps, and that was it, didn't do anything. So a rough one for the Chargers out there in the West. A lot of close games today, like Atlanta-Denver. Atlanta-Denver ended up being a good game, believe it or not. And both those teams now with 3 wins. Drew Lock the last couple of games feels like he has figured something out and has finally found some chemistry with Jerry Jeudy, who had 7 for 125 and a touchdown today. And Matt Ryan, this scrolls across the bottom of the TV. I'm like, who the hell is that guy?
Uh-oh.
Zacchaeus. I don't even know his first name. I'll have to... Olamide Zacchaeus, a wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons today. Don't lie and try and act like you knew who this was before today. He had 4 catches for 103 yards and a touchdown.
I guess all you guys will be trying to sign his butt tomorrow.
But, dude, that was one of those, yeah, probably. Somebody's going to be putting a lot of money into that one. This is one of those where Denver had a chance right at the end of the game. They scored 21 points in the fourth quarter to come back in this thing and were unable to get it done on their final possession, and so they ended up losing the game. But I don't know. I think everybody is kind of looking at Drew Lock the way that the Bears looked at Mitch Trubisky maybe season before this one. Is this guy the answer? Is he going to be able to be our quarterback of the future? Because I don't think they're set on him yet.
Well, I mean, everybody, how could you be set? He hadn't played enough.
Right.
I mean, sometimes, check this out, man. Sometimes it takes more than a year for you to figure out if a guy's the guy. Sometimes it takes 2 years. But we got no patience in our microwave society, dog. You either hit right away or you become a journeyman. I mean, it's everywhere in the league. I got to know the day. 6 starts in it, whether you're the guy or not.
Right.
And, I don't know. Do they got enough weapons around Drew Lock for us to know if he's the guy? If he's
the guy? We mentioned this before, but like Cortland Sutton, the kid from SMU, got hurt and was done for the year. So really, it's been Jerry Jeudy, who's a rookie wide receiver that they're trying to figure out. And, they kind of do the running back by committee thing there. Noah Fant, the tight end they drafted high a couple of years ago, he got hurt, didn't play much today, if at all. So, yeah, I think it's a struggle with Denver where it's kind of like we were just talking about with Tua. These young quarterbacks, do you have enough weapons so that they can do the things they need to do to be able to win?
I mean, that's always the question.
Elsewhere, did you see this? Minnesota won big against Detroit. Dalvin Cook, 22 carries, 206 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
And he had another big reception, like 30 yards or something.
I was like, man, I didn't have to play him in fantasy today, but the guy who had him won big, I can tell you that. The Giants, as we mentioned earlier, beat Washington in Washington, so both those teams stuck on 2. The Kansas City game ended up being really good against Carolina. And, Pat Mahomes for a while was trying to get things going. He ends up having a Pat Mahomes day, 372 for 4 touchdowns. But the Panthers were driving at the end of this game, trying to come back and win, and just ran out of clock and were unable to get it done. But, they only lost by 2 in Arrowhead. That's a solid performance from the Panthers. I don't know what to make of a team like that with a guy like Bridgewater, who I don't think is their quarterback of the future. And outside of McCaffrey, I don't know if they're sold on anybody else they really have.
Oh, I mean, I think, don't forget, man, this is all about Matt Rule.
Yeah.
It's his first year there. He's all about, putting in the Matt Rule culture, whatever that means. But everybody seems to think it's a good thing. And so I wouldn't worry about what to make of them yet, except they're winning while they're putting their team together. I think when it's all said and done, they're going to be kind of a conservative offensive team that plays really good defense, doesn't make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And, wins in, quote, a traditional football way.
Yeah, I was trying to see something else that stuck out today across the league. Tennessee won against Chicago. Baltimore won big against Indianapolis. The Buffalo-Seattle game, that was the one I was thinking of.
Man.
Dude, this is one because I think a lot of people believe that Seattle and Green Bay are the 2 best teams in the NFC. But I sit here and I go, man, I don't know how far you can go in the playoffs with a defense as bad as what Seattle rolls out there.
Well, see, that's what I was going to say, man. I was going to say, can you be the best team with the worst defense? See, I don't think so. I mean, I just don't think so. You can be one of the best teams with the worst defense, but you can't be numero uno with the worst with a defense that's as bad as Seattle's.
Yeah, especially their pass defense, man. I mean, Josh Allen had 7 incompletions today, 31 of 38 for 415 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I just kind of wonder, for instance, okay, let's say it's Seattle and Green Bay. If Josh Allen can pick you apart, you're telling me Aaron Rodgers can't do that? Like Aaron Rodgers would light them up to me.
But then you also got to stop Russell Wilson. You know what I mean?
Right. On the flip side of that, you got to stop Russ. But if you can outscore him, I mean, this game was 44-34. Russ had a great game too. He did throw a couple of picks, but they didn't have a way of stopping DK Metcalf, and Russ Wilson had almost 400 yards passing. But it's almost like how we felt about this Cowboys team when Dak was playing was, can you score enough because your defense isn't going to stop anybody? Seattle's starting, and I know they're 6-2. I get it, but defensively, man, you just wonder as you start to play really good teams, which you will in the playoffs, are you going to consistently be able to do what we saw today and what we've seen pretty much all year from them?
No, I think that's always the question, man. The question is always, can you play, wins matter, obviously, but
Sure.
Can you play to the standard that allows you to play against the best teams in the NFL? And, when it's college football, can you play to the standard that allows you to beat Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, now Notre Dame, and so on and so forth. So you look at Seattle and you say, okay, this is cool, but can you play to the standard that allows you to win the Super Bowl? And right now I got my questions because Buffalo's offense ain't dynamic. And if Josh Allen can do that to you, a lot of other quarterbacks can do you a lot worse, bro.
Yeah, and as we're recording this, of course, the Sunday night game is happening between Tampa and New Orleans. But if Tampa wins, they will become the first 7-2 team in the NFC because Green Bay is 6-2. Seattle losing today, they're 6-2. The NFC is an interesting. I think we'll just throw out the East and funny ha-ha with those guys. But with Green Bay, Tampa, I guess New Orleans, and then you throw in Seattle and maybe Arizona, I guess. I don't know. I think Tampa's the best team.
I don't know. I think I don't know. They would. I'm gonna take the cop-out answer. I don't know that there is a best team.
Yeah, that's probably a better way of saying it.
There's probably 4 really good teams, and on a given day, any of them could beat you, because New Orleans is giving Tampa that work right now.
Yeah, and when you look at the AFC, I mean, obviously we saw the only undefeated team in the NFL that is remaining today, and they didn't look that great against Dallas, and that's Pittsburgh, who's 8-0. Then you got Kansas City, who's 8-1. Buffalo is 7-2, and then Tennessee at 6-2. Those are the division leaders over there. Baltimore is at 6-2. But it really feels like Kansas City, even with the loss, is still the team to beat in the AFC. And I don't know. I mean, maybe Pittsburgh came in here today and just had one of those games where they were like, look, this team's trash. We're going to smoke them. It's a kid who hadn't even started a game in the NFL, and they got caught in the middle part of that. I don't know. But I thought, and we all thought this. Everybody. It's not just like me and Jacques are the only people that thought Pittsburgh was going to destroy Dallas. Everybody did. I mean, hell, the line was 15.
That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, I took some grief today because I picked I thought Dallas would get shut out. But I said when I picked that, I said the entire time, like, I wasn't being funny. I was like, you're playing a team that leads the NFL in 13 defensive categories. All right, in Pittsburgh, you got a Cowboys team that's averaging 7 points in the last 3 games. Am I really stepping out on a big ledge by saying I think a team that leads the NFL in 13 categories will shut out the team averaging 7 points before its 4th string quarterback makes his first career start? I mean, seriously, like, am I really like out there like making a bold prediction? I didn't think so, but I think it's a classic case of Dallas just played better, Pittsburgh didn't, and this is what happens.
Yeah, you're right. It is a classic case because that's what we saw. But as this thing sits about halfway, I mean, granted, some teams have played 9 games, some teams have played 8. Just depends on how your buys line up. It's hard for me. I still think the class of the NFL is Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And until somebody decides in the playoffs to prove otherwise, that's the team I would expect to get back to the Super Bowl. And who knows who's coming out of the NFC? Like you said, there's 4 teams. They're all flawed. I don't know exactly which one is the best. Who knows? We'll find out in January, I guess. But we continue. Jean-Jacques Taylor, Matt McLaren. It's Jam Session. Make sure you find us on our Instagram page at Jam Session Cast. You can follow along on Twitter at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist. And also last week we launched our website, which is really badass. It's very easy to find. It has everything you need on it. So you want to go there. It's jamsessionpodcast.com. Made it simple for you guys. And we're going to have some shirts available for all of you. At some point, we'll have a merch store, and you can check that out. We'll let you know when that's going to be, but you want to get familiar with jamsessionpodcast.com.
I'm going to see if we can put our calendar on there where we'll be.
That'll be nice.
On a given day, because we go to a brewery every Thursday, and we're usually at Oak Islands Brewery on Fridays, and we may even throw in our ticket stuff on there too. So
yeah, we'll let everybody know where you can hear us, where you can catch us.
I think that's a good idea.
It is a good idea. We do have a calendar on there. That'll be great. Calendars are good for everybody to look at. So as we move forth here on the podcast and we get back into the Dallas Cowboys game today, the Cowboys, one thing that really jumps out, other than, overall, probably the best game we've seen them play, maybe all year, finally, it took until week 9, but we got here. John Fossil's special teams made a difference.
Nah, they were, what's interesting about that is I read something from a guy, Grant Paulson. Some of you may know him. He's a radio personality in Washington. His claim to fame is that he was featured on like 60 Minutes or something when he was like 9 years old because he wanted to be a radio guy and a reporter.
Wow, look at him.
And he lived out that dream. Well, he's on Twitter, and he puts out this tweet. I think it was after the throwback pass. John Fossil makes a difference wherever he goes on special teams. He elevates that unit, and the Cowboys have been really good this year. Or obviously, something to that effect.
I was going to say, obviously, he hasn't watched any Cowboys games until today.
And I looked at that, man, and I looked at it for 30 minutes before I said, like...
Are you kidding me?
I just couldn't leave it there. I was like, actually, they've been more bad than good this year, although that was a phenomenal play. I thought that was a fair statement.
I would say that's very fair.
And then my man Derek Eagleton from Cowboys.com came out with a tweet shortly thereafter, which I thought was even better. And his tweet was something to the effect of, the Cowboys' special teams have been far from perfect, but Fossil isn't scared. And I go, you know what? I think that's the best answer. And I can respect that, dog. If you put gadgets, you put plays in there, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. That's just the nature of any play. But the fact that he's not scared, and the fact that you know when you show up, you better expect the unexpected. I think in the end, that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good team. I mean, you look at it, obviously, Greg Zuerlein, 4 of 4 today from field goals, which they had to have since they only scored 1 touchdown. 12 of their 19 points came from his foot. But the play that they had there at the end of the first half, where Wilson throws across the field to Goodwin, I mean, that was just, very reminiscent of the Music City Miracle from years ago. But it was badass, and it worked. It's finally one of those creative special teams plays that we've seen. And you can go back to the onside kick against Atlanta, and everybody will sit there and say, well, they should have jumped on it. Well, they didn't, so it worked. I mean, we were all mesmerized by that. We were all going, what the hell is that? And so, yeah, there's been a couple of times this year, and we saw it today. We're taking some of those chances and being aggressive have paid dividends, and unfortunately, it didn't end up on a touchdown drive. But they got a 73-yard return out of it. That was pretty cool.
No, it was a fantastic play, man. How about this? Rutgers used that play to score on Ohio State yesterday, so I was very familiar with it.
I mean, we've talked about this in terms of the offense too. When you're with your 4th-string quarterback or whatever string you want to call it, and you're 2-6, and you don't have a lot going for you, and you've struggled in a variety of ways to move the ball or to do things, you have to get a little creative and maybe try some things that in other situations you wouldn't try. And maybe you can say, well, okay, they have to do that because they're not any good. Well, yeah, you're right. They do have to do things like that because they're not any good. But that's sometimes what you have to do to try to level the playing field a little bit.
I'm not even playing, man. Rutgers spent the whole second half doing those plays against Ohio State yesterday.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, Rutgers is like, they're going to kick our ass.
Yeah, they were down at one point 35-3. They ended up losing 49-27 because that throwback worked for a touchdown. Whatever that play is where you fake like you snapped it over the quarterback's head.
Oh, yeah.
And you really snap it to the running back in the shotgun. That thing worked for like 60 yards.
That's awesome.
And then they ran that play, and then they followed it up with a tackle-eligible touchdown pass. But it wasn't just a regular tackle-eligible. They were in the shotgun, and they ran like they were doing a quarterback power to the right.
Yeah.
And then they stopped and threw back to the tight end all alone on the left. I mean, they were just running everything, but that's what you do when you're a 15-point underdog in the NFL or a 27-point underdog in college football. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think you see, we do that in Madden, right? I do. I mean, there are a couple of plays on Madden that if I get the right look from the defense, I almost work every time. And I was playing earlier this morning in the AFC Championship game because I was trying to build the Jets into a good team. And I'm down late. I'm like, well, I've got to get some gobs of yardage here. I'm going to lose. And so it's just like play action, weird play where one of the receivers like motions around. And if you get a linebacker on him and they let him go, then he runs right past the linebacker and you can get like 40 yards every time.
Right.
So I ran it like 4 times in a row, went right down the field. But it's things like that. Sometimes you have to do it and get a little creative. And I think you got to point, tip of the cap to Fossil today because all this genius that we've heard about, I think we've seen it kind of on display. It just hasn't always worked. Like a couple of the fake punts, I didn't really have a problem with them. They just didn't work. In reality of it is, this is a league in which, hey, that's a really kick-ass pass, but your receiver dropped it, so who cares? This time it worked.
They also got the big kickoff return from Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Dowdle. And that was really just a good burst of speed. He hit the seam right, and then cranked it up. But again, that play ended, I think, in a interception.
Yeah.
Matt and I have both bemoaned the fact that, hey, defensive special teams, y'all don't ever get a ball, offense, and an opportunity to score. They got to drive 80 yards every time. That's unfair to them, blah, 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 blah. Okay, last week in Philly, they gave them opportunities, and they ended up with field goals. This week, you give them the ball at the 25 once and the 36 another, and they come out with a field goal and an interception. If you do what you're supposed to do with that kind of field position, let's just keep it real, which is 2 touchdowns, then you win the game. But again, what are we talking about, Matt? We're talking about a bad team.
Right. And, those are the things. They weren't the defensive takeaways today like they were last week. But to your point, I mean, this is a team that even with some of the good field position they had last week, they still came in with the third worst starting field position on average in the NFL. Starting, not like if you just take the ball, you start at the 25. Dallas came in today averaging starting on their own 24. So, when you have something and your defense doesn't do it for you, today the special teams did it for you. They had a chance. They started on the Pittsburgh 31 and on the Pittsburgh 36 because of special teams and because of some of the things that Bones Fossil was doing, whether it was a trick play or the great return. But those are the types of things that can flip field position. And to your point, you would hope make it, okay, well, I mean, holy crap, we're already in field goal position. Let's just get a touchdown real quick. And it obviously didn't happen that way for them. So we move forth from the special teams to probably the most frustrating part about this game for all of us. And, we talked about this earlier, and it is difficult when you're this into the team and you're watching them and you realize, and we joke about it on Twitter, and you and I even had the discussion earlier on this episode about draft pick versus winning and losing. But reality of it is when we're watching it, you're caught up in the emotion of the game and you're caught up in the middle of it watching it going, okay, what's going to happen here? And I got to tell you, when the fourth quarter came around, the Cowboys should have won the game probably. They had multiple opportunities to win the game. But again, bad teams find ways to lose, and the Cowboys are a bad team, and they found ways to hurt themselves, help the Steelers, and lose this game in the fourth quarter.
No doubt they did.
The one thing that jumps out to all of us, see, and this is another thing, and we all get this. All of us, this happens to us. People will tweet at you, and they all sit there and they go, well, the ref were so bad, we didn't have a chance. Look, you can say whatever you want. Was it a ticky-tacky call on Jalen Smith on the illegal contact or whatever they were calling on him? Well, look, the receiver fell down. Jalen touched him past 5 yards. You can't do that. So if you're going to knock the guy down in front of the referee, guess what? He's going to throw a flag at you. You can ticky-tack it all you want. Reality in this league is on a 3rd and 10, when you've got the other team pinned deep in their own territory, if you hit the quarterback in the face, they're going to call that penalty every single time. Every time. You cannot do that.
That's what I'm talking about when I talk about the bad plays, bad teams make. Because, the illegal contact, man, I mean, that's just what it is, dog. And you saw what happened. It led to a sack, a fumble recovery. Cowboys get the ball. Oh, no, they don't. Because at worst, the way the day is going, that's another field goal. And you burn another 3-4 minutes off the clock. But the 3rd and 10, man, I get it. He's trying to knock the pass down. I get all of that, bro. He was actually, how would you describe him? He was sideways to the quarterback. Like his back was facing Roethlisberger. And he stuck his arm out there because he was kind of, just the way he was. He got turned around.
He's like, oh, maybe I can throw my arm up and hit the ball or something.
Here's the best way to say it. He didn't do it on purpose. But the rule is if you hit a quarterback in the face, in today's NFL, there's a personal foul.
Yeah, every single time. Every single time they will make that call.
On purpose or not. If they see it, they're calling a personal foul. I mean, that's just the way it is, bro.
They have to make that call. And to me, like I had zero problem with that. I was more pissed off at Jalen, and I know, again, to your point, he wasn't trying to do it, but still, it happened. It was another bad penalty on him that helped the Steelers out. And then you fast forward, it might have been the very next play or the play after the next play, I think it was. I think it was a play 2 plays later, where Leighton Vander Esch makes a play on the guy. I get it. Look, you're irritated. The dude's hand is up on your face. You don't like it. I thought at first in real time I saw it. I was like, great. He just threw a punch. He's done. Now, in the replay, you could tell he wasn't really throwing a punch. I don't know what he was doing. His hand was open. And I hate to tell you, that's a penalty every time. Like, you can't do that. And he knew he shouldn't have done it because he walked away and Claypool came over and tried to start something with him. And he's just shaking his head and kind of looked up, like, damn, I can't do that. Shouldn't do that. Well, you're right. And then you just awarded Pittsburgh, hey, man, I know you guys are trying to score, get back in this game. Need 15? I got you.
That's some of what we're talking about, man. To me, those are kind of mental mistakes. Maybe you think they're physical mistakes, but they're mistakes nonetheless.
Right.
And that's defense, and that's what keeps them in the game. In addition to, like we've said, your boy Savion Smith missing the tackle on the 42-yard catch and run. But, on offense, man, they had the ball 4 times in the fourth quarter. Those drives ended with an interception, a punt, a fourth down sack, and finally the game-clinching interception.
Right.
Incompletion. You had opportunities. You had plenty of chances, but you couldn't get it done. And ultimately, the NFL and football, sports in general, is about what? And I've told y'all this. It's about making plays, man. It's about making plays at winning time. That's the key, making plays at winning time. Matter of fact, you saw the guy today who's been one of the best in the entire NFL throughout his career at doing it.
Yeah. Ben
Roethlisberger is the one guy I know for a fact can suck for 3 quarters and at winning time turn it on and just be magnificent, even though he's been awful for 3 quarters. He's that guy. He's a winning time quarterback, which is part of the reason why he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And today they outscored the Cowboys 15-0 in the fourth quarter, in part because Big Ben, playing on a bad knee, made all the big plays that he needed to make. Made no mistakes.
Yeah, and it's one of those things when you look at it and you go from, okay, and the 31-yard touchdown pass to Juju, that was the first play of the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden Pittsburgh's back in it. Dallas drives. You look at that mistake where, and we kind of mentioned it, where Gilbert, you just can't make that pass. And God, Minka Fitzpatrick is just one of those dudes that finds the ball. He's always around the ball. The ball finds him. It found him on that. It found him when CeeDee Lamb's arm gets pulled away, and there's Minka. The ball goes right to him like a magnet. And he makes the play in the end zone. That's another one of those mistakes in the fourth quarter. And it's that next drive that we're talking about where, maybe you can get off the field. Oh, nope, I guess not. The illegal contact 2 plays later, the Leighton Vander Esch, and all of a sudden on a drive that looked like it was going to stall out or have a turnover on it, it's Pittsburgh with the 1st and 10 at the 27-yard line, and they're already in field goal position. Now, they ended up settling for a field goal, but it's the mistakes like that, multiple mistakes, whether it was the offensive mistakes with the turnover or the defensive mistakes, which is boneheaded, stupid-ass penalties that extended drives and gave them free field position, all happening in the fourth quarter. As you could see, you almost could see it in slow motion as this thing just slipped away from the Cowboys tonight.
No, I could see it. I could see the future. I could see exactly where it was going, bro. I wasn't even surprised, man, because they never separated enough. 10 points in this for these particular teams.
Right.
It was never enough separation, man. They needed that 13, 14 point lead to really apply some pressure to Pittsburgh and make them feel it. See, you can be trailing and you never really feel any pressure because you feel like, we just haven't played good. They leading, but they're not winning. You're like, huh? No, they're leading us, but we all right. There is a point where you go like, damn, we about to get smoked. We got to do something. But the Cowboys never put that kind of pressure on them. And so because they didn't, I think Pittsburgh was always concerned but comfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of putting it, actually, because that's kind of how I felt watching it. Like, I felt like, okay, it just feels like Pittsburgh is hanging around, and at some point the Cowboys will do something. There's no way that they can play, because the first quarter, almost the first half, they played a pretty damn good, almost perfect type game. No turnovers, not making a lot of mistakes. As I recall, I don't think they had any penalties in the first quarter. It was one of those games like, okay, this is really weird. Like, where is this coming from? And then sure enough, you can't help yourself. And when the pressure mounts and the game is on the line in the fourth quarter, you do what bad teams do. You find a way to lose. Although I will say, I thought it was interesting that Pittsburgh decided not to go for the field goal to make it 8 points.
Now, Romo was convinced it's because Tyrone Crawford had come so close to blocking several of them.
And he blocked that one extra point.
Right, earlier in the game.
Yeah.
But it was 4th and less than a yard, and I think they probably thought, even though they had struggled, that, hell, we can make half a foot.
Guess not.
Randy Gregory just made a great play on it.
Yeah, he did, man. And that's one of those things where when they didn't get that, because still you have no timeouts. It's whatever it was, I think 38 seconds by the time they get the ball back, and you've got to go 81 yards to score a touchdown to win.
Yeah.
But they started to get in those chunks, and I guarantee you those last couple of plays, that whole Steelers sideline, man, their sphincters had to be where you could squeeze out a diamond.
Wow.
Well, I mean, for real, because you're sitting there, they were at the Pittsburgh 29, and then that last play, they had a chance at the Pittsburgh 23, and I thought they were going to sack them, and Gilbert steps up and makes a throw, and, obviously when you're dropping 8 dudes, there's not a lot of space, but he got the pass off, and for a minute there, you're like, oh my God, and then it was no. That's how it goes. But all in all, yeah, I mean, just the frustrating thing of a team that just couldn't get out of their own way, and those just dumbass penalties, man. And I know Jalen's easy to pick on. We've talked about that before, but, say what you will, whatever it is, you cannot have those penalties in the fourth quarter. You just can't make them. You can't. Joining us now here on the Jam Session podcast, he used to join us every week. Hell, I used to host a show with them all the time. The 3-time Super Bowl champion, the 6-time Pro Bowler, the greatness of Nate Newton. What's going on, man? How have you been?
Oh, man, I'm great, man. Great to hear your voice, and great to hear JJT to get in touch with, man. It's just great to be on y'all's show, man.
Well, we appreciate the time very much. And tonight, I mean, we haven't talked to you, obviously, in a couple of weeks, Nate, but this is a season that, for the Cowboys, it spiraled out of control. They come in against Pittsburgh 2-6. What'd you take away from a game tonight that it felt like they could win, but they couldn't seem to get out of their own way?
When you're 7 for 70 in penalty yards, and those happen in the fourth quarter with guys that you're depending on to make plays, and Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, those two guys that hurt you in back-to-back possessions, you don't need that. You were in position to win. At one point, you're up by 1 point. Then you're down by a point. That was 18-19 going into the fourth quarter. You don't score again. Then you give up a roughing the passer, and then that cost you a touchdown eventually. So that is how you lost the game. So you expect for Jalen and guys like Leighton Vander Esch to hold their water and to be smart in certain situations so they give you a chance. I was shocked at the Gilbert kid. He played well, man. I had a bad interception there right before the half, but I blame that on the coach. I mean, you running the ball. You could have just got a field goal and went on to the house with a comfortable lead, but you gave up the turnover there, and it hurt you.
I was going to say, what were your expectations for Garrett Gilbert coming into the game as a QB4?
I did not have any at all. I'm like, I thought we were playing Russian roulette, man. Just spinning the wheel to see what happened. This kid came in and was very poised, did what he had to do. We had a late game scratch with the Biotic that brought Looney in, that gave you Connor Williams, and that gave you Zach Martin, the all-pro right guard, and they held up in there. And this kid stepped up in the pocket like he's been doing it for a while. The guy only been thrown like 6 passes prior to that at any pro level. That was nice, man. I think we should just ride that momentum and see where we go with it next in a couple of weeks with the Minnesota Vikings.
Are you saying Gilbert over Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle?
I have nothing against Andy Dalton, but right now this team needs some momentum. They need some confidence, and they have this with this kid. Now you can expand 1 or 2 more plays with this kid. By their defense, the Minnesota Vikings defense is not as good, I think, as what he just faced. And he did a nice job. I mean, I'm not saying that they can't figure him out, that Jim is not going to figure him out the next game, but you have some momentum here. And these guys, these receivers got the ball. They ran the ball well with Pollard and Zeke. They seem to be finding a rhythm there. I think now the coaches know defensively who these guys are and what they can do. Offensively, you got a little bit of momentum with the quarterback. You can always take the guy out. I mean, if he's not successful, take him out, put Dalton in. But right now, you have some momentum. Yes, and maybe the Steelers didn't take these guys seriously, but barring those 2 or 3 bad plays defensively, these guys were ending games.
Yeah, I thought defensively they played really well tonight. And like you said, Nate, I mean, who knows, maybe the Steelers Maybe it took them a couple of quarters to mentally get into this thing, but the Cowboys, who had ran all over every team we'd see them play, just ran all over them. Well, here comes Pittsburgh averaging 118 yards a game, and Dallas holds them to a season low in rush yards. Neville Gallimore sounded like he was everywhere tonight. Randy Gregory was making plays everywhere. Tank had another great game. It really felt like this defense, at least for the bulk of 3.5 quarters, found something they could work with.
Thank you, man. And this is the funny thing. We played against a bad Philadelphia team who have a $100 million quarterback plays worse than rookie plays. They got through that. So everybody was kind of like, the defense ain't no good. They'll come in here with James Conner, rush for 300 yards, Big Ben will throw for 4. It didn't happen. These guys played well. They did what they had to do. They know their assignments now. They've had a little success, so they're going to play harder. They're going to play, and all they got to do now, you line it up well. You know your assignment. You're giving great effort. Now be smart, because that's what it'll take. It's going to take damn near a perfect game, fellas, for the Cowboys to win against any opponent going forward. So you can't have bad plays where you have negative plays, where you can get up with 3 points, go for 6, and it hurts you. So we got to play smart as coaches, and we got to amplify that with the players.
Speaking of that, man, now I'm like you, at least with this particular player. I've had no expectations, but Randy Gregory seemed to be very active today. What's been your initial impression of Gregory?
Anything that I can get from this kid, I will be happy. And I'm being honest, because what I want for this kid is to get through this season and to get through next season. It's one step at a time with him. Because every time I start to lose my mind on this kid, he go off the deep end. I ain't going for it. I'm like that girlfriend. You know what? You done got me 3 times. Now you got to show me that you better. You know, you done got me 3 times. You ain't gonna get me a 4th time. You got to show me that you worthy of using me a 4th time.
I think you're right. It's one of those things where he flashes and you're like, all right, hell yeah. But then you wonder, kind of like what you're talking about with the girls, like, well, I mean, every time I go to the bars, you're hitting on other dudes. I don't know if I want to go out with you anymore.
Thank you. That's just how I go. I mean, I had to go to that relationship thing because, JJT likes all my relationships. That's why I went there. Yeah.
Did you like the call? Because it was Jacques and I talked about this earlier. We were having this conversation about Mike McCarthy, and we saw some of the aggression, like some of the special teams things finally worked tonight that were neat to see. And we saw some things they do, and then they have an opportunity on 4th and inches. They decide to kick the field goal instead of going for the touchdown that might have put this game out of reach. Did you think they should have been aggressive in that situation?
No, I like everything they did tonight, except when we was going in at the half and we threw the ball twice. When we had ran it down there, we had took momentum and put it on our side. I didn't like how that went, but other than that, right there, I'm good with the game. I'm good with the game. Now the players have to start being better at what they do, and Jalen has to sit up and man up sometimes. I mean, I watched the post-game interview, and I didn't want to crush it, but I'm like, Jalen, 2 bad moves. If it was just 1, okay, but 2, and you talking about we got to play better? You ain't the quarterback. You don't get to be exempt. You got to play better. You get what I'm saying? I mean,
yes, I do get it.
Things like that if you own up to it, then the rookies will see, and the young guys say, oh, man, I better, because Jalen going to do his thing. I better make sure I do my thing. Like Tank, DeMarcus Lawrence always on up the hill. It ain't, he ain't never backing up. That's when great things happen for him. It happens in abundance.
Yeah, because the thing with Jalen, and we also discussed this, is, okay, you can make your plays and you can do the thing. The problem is that when you are on that stage in the 4th quarter and the game is on the line, I don't think he intentionally meant to hit Roethlisberger in the face, but that's going to get called every single time. And then the call on the illegal contact, I mean, reality of it is the receiver was 5 yards down the field, tries to make a break, and I do wonder if Jalen hadn't knocked him to the ground, and I don't think he meant to. It's just what happened, but it drew attention to it. you can make excuses all day long. Reality of it is you cannot make those types of plays and those types of mistakes that help to extend drives. And then you brought up Leighton as well, and I thought that was a little uncharacteristic of him. I thought when I saw
very much so, bro. Very much so.
When I saw that in real time, I thought he threw a punch and they were going to toss him. And all three of those penalties in the fourth quarter when you've got a 10-point lead and you're helping Pittsburgh get back in the game and have the confidence to believe they can come out of here with the win, and that's what happened.
Let me say this. When you hit that quarterback in the face, I'm saying this right here. It's just like Porzingis going up for a block. As long as he goes straight up, they ain't going to say a word. But if them arms bend just 1 inch, they calling that. And if his arms would have stayed straight up in the air, they wouldn't have called that. But your arms came down, brother.
I was just going to say, like on something like that on Jalen, is that just being aggressive in the moment? Is that, I mean, do you put that on Jalen to know that I got to just lift my hand up and not try to extend it and be cautious of where I'm at with the quarterback?
The ball was gone, okay? If the ball was being thrown in motion, the ball was gone. And all Jalen has to do is be smart. I mean, like I said, I can deal with one. Okay, you may have bumped into the receiver even though I saw your arms extend. I may give you that. But you can't have two bad plays that they overcame two bad plays back to back by him and Leighton, and they gave only a field goal. You down by one. Then you on the fourth possession. Now all of a sudden you get a roughing the passer, and the next play 9 yards, 5 yards, 42 yards. Touchdown, 8 yards. You can't have that. That links to you. That links to your bad play because it was third down. You went from third down all the way to first down again. You was off the field, my friend, and your offense was not playing bad.
So as we move the conversation, Nate, Matt and I had a good conversation about this. What how do you feel about winning games for the Cowboys? Because it helps them draft-wise to lose, but it seems like it's a conflicted emotion. Yeah, losing helps the draft thing, but I never like to see players exposed to losing.
Not for Nate.
No, it's not. It's not conflicting. This is the deal. I've resigned myself to the fact that these Cowboys may not win many more games, and yeah, they may get a draft pick, but don't think for one moment that you're not trying to build a culture of winning, because you can get caught up like Cleveland did and be terrible. We've not been great over the last 20 years, but we've not been terrible. Or you can be Detroit, terrible, because you got to not only rip out all the players, now you got to change the culture, and you don't know when that change can be successful. Like Miami is being successful. The Cardinals are being successful, but the Jets are not. You don't want to have 5 years of first-round picks of top five and still have another 6 years of bad years. Somewhere you have to change that culture. So whenever you can win a game, you have to win so these players can taste it and feel it and know that what you're doing as far as your scheme as a coach can help them be better players. The dollars come to those who play the game and win. That's what Jamal Adams, if they would have been 10-6 and 12-4, you think they'd have had a hard time paying him? No, they would have had a hard time paying him.
True.
But when you 6 in this, 8 in this, 7 in this, you be like, man, you want us to pay you all this money? Come on, you ain't a difference maker. But Jamal Adams is a difference maker. So, hey, brother, I'm going to tell you something. Don't get me excited, man, because, I can talk to y'all all night. How long y'all want to go?
I mean.
For real, man. Life is too good. We are all, not you, JJT, but me and my man, Matt, we're diehard Cowboy fans, but even you as a guy that's an analyst, that's a beat writer, that's a guy of his own radio shows, you cannot go 1-15. What do you talk about? Going 1-15. You have nothing to talk about. So
nothing but the future, baby.
Victories along the way.
It is a weird thing here because at 2-7 in the bye, and like you said, you come back from the bye, you've got Minnesota. You can look at the schedule. It feels like they played their best game I mean, obviously, without Dak, this is the best of the offense has looked, and you have to look at it like that. I thought this was the best game the defense had played all season long. How do you carry that through the bye when reality of it is you've lost 4 in a row, you played good, but you still lost and you're 2-7?
You got to keep playing. I've been there. I've been 1-15. I've been 3-13. You just got to keep playing. The coaches have shown you that their team is successful. You got rid of that waste, the Dunkin' Donut garbage disposal in Ontario, and now you guys are having success. Gallimore has had success. Tyrone Crawford is back playing solid football. Antoine Woods is back doing his 30 plays. The middle of the defense is getting better, and if they can continue to feed off that right there, man, your safeties and corners are looking better with Donovan Wilson back there. The young guy got hurt tonight, a little bit banged up. I just think, man, Biotic, the center, a late game scratch because I guess he pulled a hamstring trying to get at a donut or something. I don't know, man, but you never know, man. You never know. We never knew when Jimmy got there. We went 7-9, and the next thing you know, man, we making 4 or 5 Super Bowl runs. You never know, but you got to keep that enthusiasm high, and you got to keep the players believing that they can win a game. And that's by playing hard, lining up correctly, and giving the right amount of effort.
So who's the best team in NFC? Because we couldn't figure it out.
Well, you want to say Green Bay, but they haven't been consistent on defense, even though they got guys that can sack the quarterback. They can't stop the run. Not consistent. You want to say Seattle, and you don't know what that defense is doing over there. I know Ken Norton is working feverishly to get it fixed, but they have no solid pass rush. They can kind of bend down and break down on that run with Wagner and KJ, but you have no solid pass rush. So I don't know who in the NFC is the killer. I don't know who is the all-around team that's going come up. We thinking Brady going to do something, man. Last I checked, they was down by 31 points.
Yeah, they're getting their ass kicked tonight. Yeah,
they still down 31-0.
So my team still, y'all, is New Orleans Saints. They got the best coach with the best system, smart quarterback, and their defense can stop the run, and they can rush the pass. So right about now, I'm still giving it to the New Orleans Saints. They don't look pretty, but they can do it with it. They can do it all phases of the game. Good special teams, solid offense, solid defense.
All right, I'm not going to dispute that. That sounds good to me.
Fair enough. I mean, it's one of those 4 teams, I think, and we'll see as the season progresses how it goes. But, Nate, appreciate the time, man. Thanks for jumping on with us here and hanging out for a bit.
And now remember, y'all got 3 more passes, baby, before I'm asking for money. So use them sparingly. Have a great day, and God bless y'all.
All right. Thanks, Nate.
We'll
see you, man.
Care, bro.
Bye-bye.
Good to talk to Nate Newton. Always good to hear his voice. But as we continue with you here this evening, and again, keep in mind, we are recording this on Sunday night. I know many of you will listen to it on a Monday, but it's November 8th for us. So whenever you're listening to that, you're like, what are you talking about? The Saints, they ended up winning 62-0. Well, right now for us, it's 31-0 is what we can see. But one thing we did see that we all saw and can agree on is this Cowboys defense tonight, I thought played the best game that we have seen them play, which they got 4 takeaways last week. They didn't get any tonight, but they stopped a potent offense that came in here averaging 118 yards a game rushing to a season-low 46 yards, and they made life with some pressure on Ben Roethlisberger, who's very good under pressure, as you might expect. And it really wasn't until the end of the game that they were able to start getting some big plays. Hell, there were a couple of times Steelers would get the ball, Cowboys got them off the field almost immediately.
They played good, and then they just couldn't hold up at the end. They gave up the 42-yard catch and run, which was a big play. You know, they had Smith-Schuster had a big play, and when they had the personal foul on Randy Gregory. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff in the fourth quarter. But I think in general, I would say this is 2 good games in a row. Because think about it, man. Ben Roethlisberger ended up with a 300-yard passing game. Yeah. But it's not. You didn't feel like he dominated. It took him 42 passes. Now, again, he had 3 touchdowns, no picks. And he was good. But he didn't dominate. And you know, they were around him. They didn't sack him, but I know they hit him several times, and they made him move the pocket a little bit. You know, I thought they played pretty good, man. Let's see. They only hit him twice. It sure felt like they hit him more than that. They were around him quite a bit.
Yeah.
But overall, when you shut the running game down and you force them to throw the ball, you can live with that, man. And then, like I said, they didn't really give up any big. I think they gave up 3 completions of 20 yards or more. So even that wasn't too much. They just had some inopportune plays by Jalen Smith. Randy Gregory had one, and Van Der Esch had one. There's just too many mistakes, man.
Yeah, and that's the problem of it. Those mental errors, like Nate was just talking about, things that you've got to understand you can't do, because it really felt to me like for the first 3 quarters of the game, this defense was really, really solid. I thought Neville Gallimore was fantastic. I mean, you felt his presence. I think that's what they thought when they signed Poe, that they were going to get this big kind of meaty dude in the middle that could take up some space. And when you saw Neville Gallimore, who's a big dude in the middle tonight, you kind of saw what I think they envisioned their run defense would be like with Poe, and it wasn't. And Neville Gallimore's play tonight is one of the reasons why it allowed them to hold Pittsburgh to 46 yards on the ground.
Yeah, he had 3 tackles, a tackle for loss. He was the guy who had the big hit on Roethlisberger that hurt his knee.
Yeah.
But no, they were active, man. That's what you're looking for. Can you be active? Can you make some plays? Can we see you? Can you show up in the film room? And if you could do that, then we can make something happen. And they got that out of Gallimore today, and that was excellent, man. Randy Gregory was active. Defensive line was pretty active in general. Overall, they played good. They just didn't play good enough, because on this particular team, injuries have taken them to the point where they have to play flawless football to win a game. They didn't play flawless, and so they lost.
Yeah, they did lose, and unfortunately, to your point, those flawless things, and it's weird because of the takeaways they had last week against Philly when they had 4 takeaways, and of course they go back to no takeaways tonight. And we did see some of the breakdowns, as we mentioned, in the fourth quarter, whether it was the mental errors or the dumb penalties. Or, I mean, what do you expect? A guy like Savion Smith that comes in, Trayvon Diggs gets hurt, and then 2 plays later, Ben Roethlisberger's like, I'm going to torch this dude. Sure enough, it's a 42-yard play. The 31-yard pass, the touchdown pass up the middle where Xavier Woods almost tripped over himself and fell down, where Juju was able to score on that one is another one. But, I mean, we kind of know what this defense is to some aspect of it. We know it's not like there's a bunch of all-pro, Pro Bowl level players on it.
To me, the essence of it is, Leighton Van Der Esch said this after the game. Somebody asked him, what's been the difference the last 2 weeks? And I just saw it. And he said something to the effect of, we're playing harder. We're not putting any of that bad film, jogging to the ball film out there anymore. And it's really disappointing, man, that it's 8 weeks into the season.
Right.
And maybe now Mike Nolan is like, everybody's now running to the ball and playing hard every snap. Okay, now listen to this, though, Matt. Check this out now. Check this out. That's Leighton Van Der Esch saying that, right?
Yeah.
Ain't that the same poop that Mike McCarthy said, we don't have any problem with effort? I mean, isn't that right? Isn't that the same stuff Mike Nolan, he's like, effort? What effort? What are you talking about?
Oh, come on. Anybody who watches the games could see there's a problem with effort.
Can I tell you something, man? That, to me, is the kind of BS that ain't no good. There's nothing wrong from a coach saying, even if you want to say it like this, you guys watched the game. You didn't see 100% effort on every play, and neither did I, and we're going to fix that poop. Can I tell you something, Matt? My dude is a good student, okay? He's been an A-B student his whole life. But I get an email every time they get a grade under 80, whether it's a grade for a class or an assignment. And about 2 weeks ago, he just had a flurry of bad grades. And I sent him a text. I said, what you do, take the week off? And he sent me back, I'm going to get it fixed. And the next day, I got another flurry. And the text I sent him, Matt, said simply, fix this shit ASAP. And you know what he said, Matt? He said, okay. And 2 days later, all his grades were back over 80, and I ain't got an email since. But that's because I didn't say, I don't see anything wrong. It must just be a bad week. No, you address it, and then you fix it. Otherwise, there's going to be some consequences. Some real consequences.
Yeah,
and so he fixed it. So, they could have fixed this stuff early in the season if they had just said, you're right.
Something.
Hey, man, check this out, Matt. Now, it'd be interesting to have a real conversation with a coach.
Yeah.
But if the tape shows, and I have a private conversation that shows, let's just call it, hey, Jalen Smith, you're not hustling. If you don't hustle in a game and go 100 miles an hour, I don't think there's anything wrong with the coach saying, yeah, I've talked to Jalen about playing with more effort every snap. Because, damn it, it's on the tape that you ain't doing it. Mm-hmm. It don't have to be no secret. Not effort. Effort you don't have to protect the player from publicly. You know, mental mistake if you want to do that because you don't want a guy labeled as dumb. Okay, I get that. Effort, there ain't no excuse for never not playing hard, bro.
No, and we had seen some of that, and I think it's I don't know if it's sad. I don't know what the word is to describe it, but the fact that you got 9 weeks into the season, you're 9 games in before you finally feel like you're starting to see what you wanted to see, and the light went off for you or whatever it is when you're 2-7.
Well, I think these are what you're seeing this year is why there will be some people who won't be here next year. And if they're not here next year, maybe you can't get rid of them all. So maybe it takes 2 years. You know what I mean? But you're making decisions on people as you go through this difficult time because what is it that they say, man? Adversity reveals character. You know what I'm saying? So as you go through these hard times, adversity gets reveals everything about people, man. Everything. And that's when you can tell who's really, what's up with people, man. Good or bad when they're going through tough time.
Cowboys are going through them, 2-7, going into a bye, and 3 out of their next 4 games, I believe it is, are on the road. Yeah, that's right. Minnesota, then Washington here, then at Baltimore, at Cincinnati. We'll see how it turns out, but they are going through tough times at 2-7 on their bye, and we'll see them again in Minnesota on November 22nd. So we have reached the point of the podcast where we will get into secret audio of a Cowboys Homer. I've got some good cuts today, believe it or not, but happy to welcome in one of our brand new sponsors. Please support our sponsors as they support us. Fitzgerald Law with attorney Chris W. Fitzgerald. You know, lawyers are always one of those things that are really interesting to me because I feel like you never think about them until you need one. And then you're like, oh, I need a lawyer for whatever reason. And I think this is where Chris can come in and help you. And this is really interesting, too, because he does something called virtual law practice, which is becoming more and more popular in the times in which we live. More and more courts are changing and moving from in-person hearings to telephonic or Zoom-type meetings. Yes, for court things. And Chris can help you out without a face-to-face meeting. He can help you out virtually. Areas like probate, contracts, business transactions. I asked him and he helped me out with some of the legal questions I had when we formed our business. And he, as I mentioned, can meet with you virtually and fill a variety of needs almost exclusively online. You can contact him by calling 972-842-4220. That's 972-842-4220. Or check him out online at chrisfitzgeraldlaw.com. That's chrisfitzgeraldlaw.com. And see if he can help you out with questions you may have concerning the legalese of the world, which I certainly know virtually nothing about, which is why it's good to have somebody that you can talk to and be like, hey, man, this may be a dumb question, but can I legally do this?
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. But let's get into it, man, because it is time for secret audio of a Cowboys Homer. We have a variety of cuts today. I think when it was all said and done, I ended up with like 14. Some are a little quicker, and you guys know how it works. I edit these for time so that they're not all... Because when you're sitting there and you're going through it, and then you pull the file up, you're like, holy crap, this file's like 6 minutes long, but there's only 30 seconds of audio in it because, you know, the plays are dead or whatever in between. So we'll start you off. The first one is, as this is the first drive Dallas was putting together as they went for that opening field goal. Oh, they tricked him. Oh, and he slipped. It worked, and he slipped. Oh, well. Oh, going deep. Oh, and he got Cooper. Nice. That was a nice pass. Went right by him. Dropped it right in there. Look at Tony Pollard like he shot out of a cannon. Okay, they're going to go right down the field and score. This is insane. What a weird team. Like a 20-yard run. They're going to get one here? Nope. Third down. And he got sacked. Don't fumble it. So they're going to get a field goal out of it. Figures. God, look at that glare coming in. Jesus, can't even see the damn ball. Yeah, it's true. It's so funny. I was a little excited, and then I was like, typical. Of course they're going to get a field goal. So we move from that as it's 3-0, and
you seem so surprised that Garrett Gilbert could actually throw a spiral.
Of course I was. After what we saw last week with Ben DiNucci, I was like, man, Garrett Gilbert hadn't looked this good since the 2009 Natty against Alabama when he came in. But this next one, I just have it as the amazement of the defense, of the Cowboys defense here. I need the defense to make a play for you. There it is. That'll work. Leighton Vander Esch making a play. God, did it again. Holy shit. It's like all of a sudden they decided to play some football. 3rd and 16. And then underneath, nothing. They're going to have to punt again. Gosh, fantastic. Damn.
Now you sound all surprised that the defense is playing good.
How could I not be? I'm sitting there watching this at some point, and I'm just like, this is the most perplexing thing. We had 8 weeks of an example of what we thought this team is, and then tonight, half of that went out the window. So here we have it. This is one where I believe they were going to go for it. This may be the call where earlier in the game at the 4th and 5, I think this is, where I was hoping they'd go for it, but they punt that drive that ended with that. Oh, I don't think he got it. No, he didn't get it. They're going to have to punt. That sucks. Just go for it. Oh, they gave it to him. No, wait. Golly, that's like 2 inches short. Just go for it. Come on. What do you care? Your team sucks. I'd go for it I would never punt if I was 2-6. What's the point? True. Just go for it. What's so tough about it? Who gives a shit if you win or not? Be aggressive. Why not go for it? It's stupid. Who cares about punting? I mean, what difference does it make?
This is not Madden, bro.
I know, but still. And Romo was talking about it on the broadcast, and I was kind of like, all right, yeah, Romo's got the idea. Like, come on.
Was that the one early in the game at like the 30-yard line or something?
Yeah, it must have been, because these go in chronological order, so that would have been earlier in the game.
I think the only issue, because you're right, it is what it is on the season and what your record is. I think the only issue is the risk reward, meaning if I go for it at my 30 and I get it, okay, great. Now my bad offense has 70 more yards to go.
Yeah.
Whereas, and if I don't get it, I've basically given them a field goal and perhaps a touchdown.
No, fair enough.
I think it's just the field position there.
You're right.
Past the 40, I probably would do it, but I think that was at the 30-yard line.
Yeah, that was in their own territory for sure. So we go from that to, this is my reactions of the Cowboys finally scoring a touchdown.
Dude, it's been a long time now.
Let's see. Oh, don't fumble it. Oh, he escaped. Look at this run. There you go. Nice. This is crazy. What is happening? Just get rid of it. He's going to run again. He's going to get first down again. Holy cow.
I like the maniacal
This is
laugh.
crazy. Yeah. This is nuts. It is. You're right. 1st and 10 from the 40. Watch him score and get a 10-point lead. Going deep. Open. God, this is crazy. Another 15-yard gain. I think so, yeah. What are they going to bring? Nothing. No blitz. Oh, nice pass. Touchdown. Holy shit. They scored a touchdown. They got a 10-point lead. This is crazy. Wow. That's awesome. Unbelievable. And he burned. That was Watt that was on him.
Dude.
This is crazy. Awesome. Yeah, see, I was excited for a moment there.
Yeah, I'm impressed, man. I can imagine. I can get down with your excitement level, though. It was their first touchdown, I believe, in 25 possessions.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap. And against Pittsburgh, when both, I didn't think they were going to score a touchdown. I thought they'd get a couple of field goals. I was like, wow, okay, so
I didn't think they'd score at all.
I know. So we move from that to this is the punt return. I believe this is the one, the trick punt return, and how fun I thought that was.
There's a flag.
What in the world was that? Oh, my God. What a brilliant play. What a brilliant play. Look at this. Look at this. I thought he was going to run. Throws it across the field. There's nobody there. I mean, if he catches that clean, he's gone. And he's gone anyway. It's going to be 17-0. God, that was awesome. This is the craziest thing. Pittsburgh is undefeated, and Dallas is whipping their ass. True.
Uh-oh.
Well, at that point, it was true. Sports is fluid.
This is true. Yes, you are correct.
There was a point in this game it felt like Dallas was whipping Pittsburgh's ass. Now, of course, that wouldn't last too long because this would be Pittsburgh scoring here. Roethlisberger's feeling that, man. Gallimore nailed him, and he's a huge dude. Look at this. Oh, and then that sucked. He reached for his knee. That sucks. He's hurt. I love how Jalen gets up. Like, he doesn't make the tackle. He just ripped the piece of the dude's shirt off because he faked him out so bad. He's such a beast. He's like, whatever, who cares? He's limping. He doesn't care. Probably tore something in his knee. He's like, F this, we're playing. That's why he's got 2 rings.
Wow.
Yeah. Wide open. Absolutely. Right down the field, wide open, no problems. Yeah, they're going to get their ass kicked in the second half. My, how the tables turned so quickly with me.
I'm going to say you can feel a point for that, huh?
God, that's hilarious because I just got done in the last clip talking about how Dallas is whipping their ass, and then you hear me at the end of that one talking about how, well, that's it. Pittsburgh's going to whip their ass now. Oh, here we go. This one's a good one because this is the play where Lamb fumbles it, and it goes right to Minkah Fitzpatrick. What can you do here? Don't screw it up. Oh, my God. He's wide open in the middle of the field. That's hilarious. Great. Good job, Terrence. There's a reason why you were undrafted.
Wow.
That'll kill this thing.
Seems like a shot.
Oh, my God. What the f*** is that? Goes right to the Steelers guy. They're going to score before the end of the half to tie it. And it's like the first half was going to be completely pointless. Holy shit, man. That fucking sucks. That whole penalty wipes that out, now sets Pittsburgh up. God. Oh, yeah, because I got on a Terrence Steele because he lined up in that illegal formation.
Dude.
That's what that was.
His whole season's been a poop show.
I know. And then, like, the very next play is that Lamb play. And I'm just like, I mean, because literally it was like, what are the chances? Yeah, he fumbles. And it's like he fumbled it, but it just went right to Minkah Fitzpatrick. Like, right to him.
Yeah.
All right. So we go from the Lamb fumble, and we'll wrap up my first half thoughts here. This is the Pittsburgh field goal fiasco at the end of the half with the 54-yarder. No, wait, maybe it's something else. Nope, missed it. Excellent. 13-6 at half. And there's a penalty. What now? So now he's going to try a 59-yard field goal. And watch him hit this. This is so nuts. He nailed it. He f***ing nails it. Guy gets a f***ing false start, misses it, and then gets a f***ing false start and nails it. 59 yards. You got to be f***ing kidding me. Only could this happen to Dallas. That's exactly how I felt. Like, how does that happen? Guy misses a 54-yarder. Oh, never mind. Just kidding. And gets another chance at a 59-yarder, and he nails it.
It's been that kind of 2020, bruh.
Let's see here. So we will now go, I believe this is the beginning of the fourth quarter. There wasn't a lot that happened in the third quarter when I was listening back to it. I was like, I didn't really do much. But when Pittsburgh gets going in the fourth quarter, here's that touchdown to start things. Wide open over the middle. Easy touchdown. Just like that. Just like that. Start off the fourth quarter. Here they go. We'll see. I mean, he made Woods stumble. He beat him so bad. Easy touchdown. They blocked it. Awesome. How crazy is that? 2 extra points that he missed. That's big, man. Now it's not a field goal. Look at Crawford. That's the best play he's made all season. Holy. Wow. What a weird game.
You're not wrong.
It is. I know I'm not wrong. I mean, he blocked that. I was like, wow, Tyrone Crawford still plays on this team. That's good news. So you have that, just a few cuts left. This is, I believe, the Garrett Gilbert interception, and the plays probably leading up to what happens with that one. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, damn it. He threw a interception. You knew that was going to happen. damn it. That fucking sucks. No. He was just trying to force something after the pick so they get the ball anyway. And look who it is. That motherfucker just is always around the ball. Look at him. He's just one of those guys the ball goes to.
What'd you call him?
Amazing. A 12-letter.
Golly. I mean, it came out. It came out so routinely.
Hey, it happens,
so randomly.
man. I mean, you know, when the other guy, you're just like, I mean, and I almost meant it in a compliment in his situation.
Wow.
I mean, that dude takes the ball away. Minka Fitzpatrick is a ball takeaway machine.
Yeah, he is, man.
All right, so we get to that.
It's hard to believe the Dolphins couldn't figure out how to use him.
Oh, this is a good one. This is a series of me with the Jalen Smith penalties and the Leighton Vander Esch penalty. I think you might be in for a treat. Got him. Fumble. Cowboys got it. Alden Smith picked it up. They're going to score. Oh, my gosh. What a wild game. You're f***ing kidding me. Good job, Jalen. Very nice. Awesome. Good job. We going to swipe? Yeah, you can't do that. There's Leighton Vander Esch making a play. Wow, Vander Esch just threw a punch. Good job, Leighton. Nice. Nicely done. We have lost fucking minds all of a sudden. What a dumb play. Well, all of what I just said in that clip is true.
You know what? I actually think it is.
It is. Those were dumb effing plays, man. There's no way around that. From Jalen and from Leighton, virtually back-to-back. Just stupid-ass mental errors. Oh, and then here's me. This next clip is just titled Pissed at Jalen. So here we go. 3rd and 10. Too easy. It's wide open. Nope. Missed him. He overthrew him. Come on. You guys screwed this up. Let's see. God, f***ing Jalen Smith. You can't do that. God, you f***ing moron. Just like you can't tackle a receiver in the middle of the field. You can't swipe at the quarterback's face. It's a penalty every f***ing time. You can ran all you want. You can't hit the quarterback in the face. Blatant, obvious penalty. We're a dumb team.
Golly.
You effing moron. I wonder how many people in bars and in homes across America were screaming that at him.
Probably quite a few.
I would imagine. All right.
It's a frustrating plays, man.
Very. Especially at that point in the game. Because it's like I said, when you're watching the game, the fan part of you wants your team to win. You know, like in the moment, I think when you step back, you go, oh, we're 2-7, 3rd pick in the draft, 4th pick in the draft, whatever. But when you're watching the game, you're not sitting there thinking that. Not in the moment. And so that leads us to Pittsburgh scoring to take the lead in the 4th quarter. You going to score? He's going to walk it in? God, you knew they were going to come back and get you. Easy. Look at that. Leaps right over him. Touchdown. Pittsburgh takes it. And they'll win the game. Dallas can't get out of their own way, even when they play good. They're not going to go down the field. Are you kidding me?
You're not wrong.
This game's over. Pittsburgh just won. Good for them. That'll be a good loss, 2-7.
Jeez.
All right, and then we got one more here. The secret audio of a Cowboys Homer, me. And this, of course, is the very last play of the Cowboys game. I mean, this isn't crazy. This is a 24-yard, 23-yard pass. Do you have a play? Nope, you couldn't block. Knocked it down. Steelers win. Nice. Oh, they almost f***ed up and won. So you have that, and then
can't be saying that, man.
I know, but you know the frustration of the whole damn season and the stupid ass plays in the 4th quarter, and then of course we have. I don't think this one's very long. It's weird because the random clip, the random thoughts that come out of my brain while watching the game that I was able to pull out. Here you go. Whataburger food always looks so good, but you know you can't eat it. Yum, yum. Maybe I don't want that phone. Did you ever think about that? I don't know. It was weird looking. That is a mouth. I want you to want me.
The hell?
Alejandro Villanueva. God, look at that dude's beard. We're supposed to believe that every single one of those people only have Bud Light available in their fridge to drink? Come on. So there you go. Solid. That's a solid one today.
I think so, man. Considering that what's the Cowboys record?
2-7, and somehow I find a way to get that heated at a 2-7 team making
That's
boneheaded
because you
plays.
want them to lose, but you want them to win.
I know, that's the weird ass dichotomy of this whole thing. I don't know.
So, I mean, I think that's really it.
I think you're right. I think that has a lot to do with it. Like at the end of the game, I sit here and I say, I look at it like everybody does. Cool, 2-7, top 5 picks still on the way. But in the middle of the game, when you're watching these plays, you don't want them to make penalties. You don't want them to just cough the game away, and that's what they did.
That's what they've been doing. That's what they do every week.
Well, they're not a good team, and they do. And we've said this many times. They do what bad teams do, and they do that because they're a bad team.
Right.
That's just reality. So that wraps it up for us. Another fantastic edition of the podcast. We appreciate all of you listening and being a part of this. Find us on Instagram at JaM Session Cast. Of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find us there by searching JaM Session Podcast on YouTube. And remember, on Friday, we will be at Oak Highlands Brewery in the Lake Highlands area of Dallas off of Miller and 635 doing a live show at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon. You can find us on Twitter at McMatt967, at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist. Thanks to Purple Elephant Music for the music you hear at the end and beginning of each episode. He is the radio and TV star, the sexy Jean-Jacques Taylor, and I'm just a guy, Matt McLaren. Please remember, tell a friend, subscribe. Let them know that you've been listening to the JaM Session podcast, and if you like it, maybe they'll like it too. Have them subscribe, rate, and review, and we'll catch you next time on the JaM Session podcast, available everywhere you listen to podcasts.